This was an extremely dangerous match. Every time boxers entered the ring, four guards utilized all of their power to accompany them. The entire body was shackled, including the mouth. Nonetheless, people still got goosebumps when they heard their voices. This man was Koshmar, the king of the boxing scene. And Boyka, when he was released from a Russian jail, he traveled to Ukraine to pursue his boxing dream. He took part in underground boxing matches here, and aspired to be the world's king of boxing. Today, his manager sent him the wonderful news. He could enter the European stage as long as he won a match. Then he could prove himself to the rest of the world. Boyka was very excited. The match also began soon. His opponent was a Russian. To compete on the European scene, Boyka struggled with all his might. But even after being struck down several times, the opponent never gave up. Boyka wanted to advise the opponent to abandon his efforts. Of course, the opponent was definitely opposed. As a result, Boyka no longer respected. He used a series of successive punches to knock his opponent down. And finally Boyka won this match. Despite the fact that Boyka won the match, the opponent was in serious condition. This made Boyka was uneasy. He awakened from a nightmare. This was the first time he had questioned his dream. So he decided to do something to make amends. He went to the manager and requested a forged passport for himself. After that, against the manager's advice, he took the passport to Russia. Boyka discovered that his opponent's wife, Alma, she owed the local gangster a huge sum of money. Every night, she was escorted to the underground boxing scene, where she had to offer drinks for visitors. When Alma looked over him, Boyka wanted to approach her to say something, but he was prevented by 3 guards. Boyka originally didn't want to make problems, but these guards still behaved aggressively toward him. He delivered a couple of blows to knock them out. At this point, the gangster's boss had also arrived. He wanted to invite Boyka to compete for him since he saw how firm his body looked. Boyka refused adamantly and offered to talk to Alma. But the gangster's boss disagreed, and threatened Boyka not being permitted to find Alma any longer. Since the gangsters were overcrowded, Boyka temporarily could only leave. He went to Alma's workplace early the next morning. While he was entering the gate, he was stopped by the security guard. After finding Alma, Boyka explained why he had to meet her. He admitted to killing Alma's husband on the ring. But he didn't know how to make amends. He could only offer Alma the whole amount of money of that day's match for Alma. Alma was adamantly opposed to receiving it. Therefore, Boyka could only leave unhappily. The security guard also awoke at this moment. Boyka did not give up. Instead, he planned to assist Alma. So he tracked out the gangster's boss. They made a deal that as long as Boyka won 3 matches, Alma would be free. But there was no place for Boyka to practice before each match. What? This is my sandbag. The first match began shortly after that. Boyka punched the opponent with precise footwork that the opponent was unable to respond. When he was about to swing his fist to end the match, he had a flashback to the look of his deceased opponent. Boyka stopped when he realized he couldn't make the same mistake twice. Alma witnessed everything. She gradually came to comprehend this man as well. She took Boyka to her husband's practice room. Although the room was small, the types of equipment were adequate for Boyka to practice. Soon later, the second match began. The gangster's boss did not want Boyka to win easily this time. So he directed 2 boxers to simultaneously confront Boyka. They combined flawlessly together, and Boyka was temporarily unable to adjust. They kicked Boyka in the belly when he was careless. The wound from many years ago recurred, and the tremendous pain quickly spread throughout the body. Boyka was enraged. He realized that being nice would not solve the problem. Initially, he used a kick to knock down the first opponent, then kicked the second opponent down. Finally, he punched one person to the ground, and kicked the other with both legs. He eventually won the match. The gangster's boss realized the situation was serious. Immediately contacted the jailer's chief. He paid a lot of money to bring in Koshmar. Alma began to rethink her mind about Boyka after 2 matches. She brought Boyka her husband's waist wound medicine. The European competition was going to begin. The manager asked him to come in the evening. Boyka also agreed. The third match took place as scheduled in the evening. This blonde is the most powerful boxer on the ring. Although the match had just begun, Boyka was having difficulty. And this blonde was definitely aware that Boyka's waist was injured. So he got the chance to attack Boyka's waist. As a result of this, Boyka suffered extreme agony. Seeing Alma's concerned expression below, Boyka altered his state and began to use his strength. In the face of Boyka's relentless and powerful assault, the blonde was rendered speechless. Boyka eventually won the match with a spin kick. Boyka won all 3 matches. He was going to leave when the gangster's boss stopped him. It was not yet over. The gangster's boss told Boyka that if he wanted Alma to be released, he had to defeat their best boxer. Boyka was furious, scolding him for failing to uphold his faith. After seeing Alma in the distance, he still agreed. "What are you waiting for? Bring our best boxer here." His opponent this match was Koshmer. He was tied up when he was on the ring. Some prison guards attempted to restrain him. The individuals next to them were so terrified that they backed away. Boyka was astounded as well. However, when it came to this, he could only risk his life. Boyka's assaults are rendered ineffective in the face of such total might, because he was exhausted and had wounds on his body. Boyka soon collapsed on the ground. He blinked vaguely his eyes, inadvertently catching sight of the gangster boss's mockery, as well as Alma's forlorn countenance. Boyka quickly sprang to his feet, ready to fight. He found the limbs of Koshmer to be incredibly heavy and sluggish. Boyka used this position to launch a barrage of attacks, leaving no time for the opponent to counter. He won the match once more. He shouted excitedly. However, the gangster's boss broke his word this time. He told his subordinates to use baseball bats to launch surprise attacks. Spectators fled away. Boyka was beaten severely. In the blink of an eye, the dream that he had always trusted disintegrated as well. He resolved not to soften his heart anymore. He stood up aggressively, knocking over the 2 subordinates next to him. He then slammed each of the delinquents to the ground. He pursued the gangster's boss out the door. Alma is threatened by the gangster boss. Alma abruptly protested at a critical juncture. Boyka took advantage of the situation and charged forward, knocking the boss down. Boyka also fell to the ground because of the severe injury. The police also arrived at this moment. But Boyka was unconcerned, only pleading with Alma to forgive him. Alma went to see Boyka after some time had passed. She thanked him and showed him that she had forgiven him. Boyka appears to be relieved of his burden, and he started a new life. He was eventually rescued. At the end of the film, Boyka continued his matches in the prison. In prison, he reigned as boxing's king once more.